My name is Ellie, and I'm going to introduce my mom pretending to be Gerta.
My name is Gerta. I was born in Poland. On September 3rd, 1939, that was 77 years ago, German invaded my home. You see, I am Jewish. It was such a strange time. We were so surprised when people we called our friends hung the Nazi flag. 1 month later, my older brother Arthur received a letter from the Germans. They asked him to register for the army. He did what they said. They lied. We never heard or saw from him again. After that, we lived in the ghetto. For you younger kids, a ghetto is a place outside of the city. It was meant to isolate us. Many people died from starvation, disease, and some were shot. 2 years we were in the ghetto when my father was transferred to a death camp. All I had was my mother. One day, a guard showed up and asked us to get in a single file line. When it got to us, he told my mother to go left and for me to go right. Despite my kicking and screaming, they separated me from my mom. They had to literally tear me apart from our embrace. We loaded up into different vehicles. And I remember jumping out of mine and running towards my mom. I begged him, please, please don't separate me from my mother. She's all I have. Yet they told me I was too young to die. From there, I worked in the concentration camps at the looms. The girls who worked outside managed to stay healthy, but the girls who worked in the loom, well, the conditions were so bad that people died quickly. Somehow I survived. I was among 4,000 women who were ordered to the death march. We marched 350 miles in winter-like conditions. Out of the 4,000 women, only 120 survived. I often tell crowds about my childhood friend, Ilsa. Oh, sweet Ilsa. She once found a raspberry while working outside the camp, and this friend of mine, she carried it in her pocket all day in order to present it to me on a leaf that night. Can you imagine a world in which your only possession is a raspberry and you give it away? You might not think a raspberry is very much, but if it's all you have, it's everything. Ilsa died in my arms during the death march. Why do I tell you the story this morning? Because the true measure of a gift is what you give up in order to give it. It cost God nothing to create this world, but in order to save it, it would cost him this. Gerda was isolated and cast outside the city to the ghetto. Jesus, he was isolated too, cast outside the city walls to Golgotha. Gerda, well, she was physically torn from her mother's arms against her will. Yet Jesus willingly separated himself from his Father and was torn from his Father's arms. All so that you and I could have forgiveness and spend eternity with him in heaven. If you only had one raspberry to give, who would you give it to? I invite you to send this message to them as a way of saying, If this is all I had, I'd give it to you. Be radiant for him, and Merry Christmas.